Today is Saturday and we are working on the greenhouse. You can see we've got some of our trusses up, and I suspect today we will get all of them up and put the pieces in between, which is going to be the ridge pole, and we'll drill in our channel lock wood along the side, I think, and that would be all we would get done today. Because we're having to do all the drilling ourselves, this is pretty time consuming. And if my time was only the issue here, I wouldn't have done it this way. However, I am limited by space. That's why I've made this greenhouse, because I couldn't buy a kit that was the right size, and perhaps in the US there was something, but to ship greenhouse parts to Canada, especially with the US exchange rate, is just not economical at all. So refabricating my old greenhouse, which was 18 feet wide, to go to 23 foot wide was just practical. Though it has been quite a bit of work, like doing all the drilling, building these trusses. It's all taken quite a bit of work. It's been a lot of drilling, gone through a lot of drill bits. So these are my sleeves, and these go over our posts here. So that's a custom weld that cost me about $20 a piece. So 28 of them, it was about 500 bucks to do it all. Not too bad. So far this greenhouse I've spent less than $2,000 for. That's including the poly, the blower, all the materials, not including our labor. So it's pretty good, because to buy a greenhouse kit around this size, from the quotes I was looking at, was no less than $6,000. Would have been plus shipping too. So no, it's been pretty good so far. It's been a cool learning experience. At the end of all this, I'll put together another video that kind of shows exactly what we did. But you guys just kind of seen it more or less through the vlogs. So something funny the other day was when I went to go get these sleeves that were a custom weld from the company that I bought all of these chain link fencing parts for. I originally had this, so these is a 2 3/8 sleeve. This post here is 1 7/8, and the ground post down below is the same as this, is 2 3/8, so they fit inside of each other. But the challenge with this was that my trusses were 1.5 inches, and that's because they were from a previous greenhouse kit. Well, they were the greenhouse that was here before. You guys have seen that one. So what I was originally going to do with the weld is I was going to have them put another 1 7/8 sleeve inside of this sleeve, so that the 1.5 fit more snug into it. And when I showed up yesterday to get it, they hadn't done that, and I was like, oh my god, what am I, this is just a nightmare, because it's already been a long time coming to get these sleeves. That's the main thing that's delayed us getting this finished, because I've been waiting on these pieces. And so I just decided, you know what, forget it, I'm just going to try to make it work without him. And it actually turned out to be a bit of a silent blessing, because once when we get our trusses up in the air and then we slide them in here, we have to kind of flex them to get in, and it's pretty tricky. And so you can see there is a bit of play, there's quite a bit of play there, and like right now they kind of wobble a bit, but once we get our top rail, our ridge pole in, that'll secure it a lot more this way. And then we have 2 bolt holes, we've got one here and one there, that will secure it even further. And then we're going to run a piece of treated 2x4 all along the side here. That's where our first channel lock is going to go with wiggle wire, and our roll up sides will go along there. So that other piece of wood will secure it even further. So it's actually worked out quite well that the sleeves were a lot bigger than these, because it's just given us enough play that we can slide them in easy enough. Mark's drilling away, getting those sleeves ready to go up. And I had a nightmare the other day, because I'd been building these trusses with these steel band pieces to wrap around. So I've got my one piece here, I had the steel band that would wrap around here, and the same thing there on all the intersecting points. And after I'd built about 5 or 6 of them, I noticed that those bands were actually torquing. They were twisting a little bit when I moved the arches, and I immediately saw that as a design flaw. And then I corrected by I had to take apart all of the trusses that I'd built. I think it was like, maybe it was even 7. So I had to take all those apart and then rebuild them by just drilling my rail end, which is this piece here, right into the post, which is a far more secure piece anyways than with these bands, because the bands, if you have any like maybe high wind that came in and would move these arches around, the trusses, then those bands would torque, and then they intersected the poly because they were wrapped around here. They were twisting up, so that was a design flaw in the sense that it could have potentially torn the plastic if you got into a really heavy wind. So I'm lucky that I fixed that when I did, even though it cost me like almost half a day of work to go and rebuild, take apart and then rebuild those trusses. It was a real pain in the ass, and I was kind of frustrated most of the day when I was doing it, but you know, lesson learned. And so this design so far is going to be a lot more robust. One thing you might also notice with the way we've built this is its proximity to this greenhouse. There's only 4.5 feet space between them, and that's my south aspect. So it is it's a placement flaw in the sense, but I'm confident that we're going to be able to work around it. It's basically going to give us shade only on the bottom part of this greenhouse on 3 to 4 weeks on each end of the shoulder of the winter solstice. So it's not going to affect much production in here because most of that stuff's verticalized. It will mean that basil bed in there will get a little bit less light, but we are going to experiment with some reflection ideas, and I always like a challenge. Like I wanted to get this greenhouse on my property because to put it on one of my leases is just too risky, because it's just too much work to set it up, too much cost, that if I lost that lease or had to leave at some point, to take this down and rebuild it somewhere else would have been a nightmare. So we've had to put it here, and it's going to be a challenge. But I always like a challenge because when you have that challenge in front of you, I've always found that problem solving that challenge, when you have it in front of you opposed to hypothesizing on it, allows you to solve the problem a lot more effectively, at least for myself at least. So, you know, who knows, I could say in a year it was a total nightmare, I would never put something in front of this, but I think it's pretty good. I mean, even right now where I'm standing, we are mid-October, so we've got another about 2 months until the winter solstice. So where my sun is right now is only going to go down a little bit further. In fact, all these trees over here, at our winter solstice, that sun is about, from your perspective, an inch higher on the screen than those trees. So I will get some shade for that period, but we'll still get enough ambient light in there. And the nice thing is about what we're growing in the winter is microgreens. They can do fine on ambient light. They don't need direct light. So that's not going to affect our microgreens production. I think the only thing it will affect potentially is that basil bed down there. But everything in here, all of this lettuce, is going to have tons of light. And I've bought a heater that's going to go in here, and it's the exact same one that I bought for this. I'll show you guys that now. So this is that same heater that is inside, and for those of you that were asking before, because it doesn't actually say on the heater, but there was some questions about this before. So this is a 6,000 watt shop heater, and it can hang from above. It's got 20,472 BTUs, and it's 25 amps, 240 volts. So that is going to be mounted up on the top in that greenhouse, and so I'm going to run electrical to that greenhouse because I need it for the blower as well. That's going to blow the 2 layers of poly. But the idea with this heater is it's not going to run in the same way that the heater in the nursery does. It's going to run just to keep the temperature above 5 degrees Celsius. So just to prevent freezing in there, and you know, keep it relatively warm at night, because lettuce can grow fine with that kind of temperature. You don't need to have hot temperatures. Having said all that, during the day, even with ambient light like we have right now with this partial cloud, that greenhouse will still get up to 15 degrees Celsius, no problem. And if maybe I'll find that I might want to run the heater a little bit to get it up to 20, and then that lettuce will grow a lot faster. So this is all an experiment, and we have yet to see exactly how it's going to go. Okay, we've got all of our trusses up. Next thing we're gonna do is put in our ridge poles, which are from the old greenhouse, and they just go in between each truss, and they're already pre-drilled, and the bolts are still there, so it's pretty easy just putting them in together. So that is our day, you guys. Got all the trusses up, all bolted in. Super stoked. This is awesome. You know, one thing I've been learning a lot about greenhouses through building this, but you know, guys, this is how I've been learning since I've been farming. I don't really know what the hell I'm doing with this. Like, I've been figuring this out as I've gone along. I mean, I've seen enough greenhouses. I've been growing in greenhouses for enough years to feel confident that I could figure it out, you know. But this isn't a perfect design. The whole thing could be a failure. I don't know. I think it's going to be good. I'm pretty confident it's going to be good. But the underlying message here that I want to share with you is that it's all about figuring out as you go. Fake it till you make it. That's as the saying goes. And that's honestly what I've been doing the entire time I have been farming. I've been faking it until I've made it. And I still haven't made it. I'm still figuring it out. But that's the key. You never stop learning, right? And what I want to just share with you guys and encourage you to do is to do the same, and don't be afraid of trying things because you don't have all the answers. Just get out there, figure out the basics of what you need to do or to know how to do it, and then just go for it. You're gonna make mistakes, you're never gonna stop failing, and you're never gonna stop learning, and if you do, then it's probably time to do something else. So I hope you guys have found this stuff enjoyable and helpful. It's been fun for me. I enjoy making these videos. If you want to make a contribution to the show, it helps me take the time to do these things because I am trying to publish a video a day, and I'm hoping I can maintain that even throughout the winter, especially during my travels. I'm going to be in Mexico for a little while, so I'm hoping I can keep making videos there. I'm going to be in Memphis, Tennessee for a week. I'm going to be at Jean Martin's farm in a couple weeks, and I'm going to be in New Zealand for a couple weeks. So I'm not doing as much traveling as I did last year, but I am going to be doing some this year, and I hope to keep making content throughout it. So your guys' support has been awesome. Thank you for those of you that do support, whether it's sharing and liking my videos. If you can't help support, that's fine, you don't have to, but you know, share the content, get the word out there, encourage people how to farm, show people, learn, inspire. All right, see you next time.